So now that I have the chapters and subchapters set up, I can take a look at those here, and you can see some of the subchapters, and as I scroll down, the chapters themselves. So there's a bunch in here, and now I'll just kind of set up the table of contents. So to do that, if you go under layout, at the bottom of that list, you'll see table of content styles, and that's what I want to do. So not only is this paragraph styles, but there's a table of content styles, which contains all the styles that we've just created and a few more. So what I want to do is just create a new one. I'm just going to click on new, and I want to just name this my own style. So just to kind of, again, keep track of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to call this Worlds and TOC. And the contents is going to be the title. So I'm going to change this to the Worlds and contents. For paragraph style, this is a paragraph style that we haven't made yet. This is the paragraph style that's going to be applied to these words right here. And that will become a little bit more obvious once we start looking at the actual page that the table of contents is on. But for now, let's just create a new paragraph style, and I'll go into that menu again with the paragraph styles. And I'm just going to call this index of table of contents. And I'm going to just make a new one here, so I'm not going to base it off anything. And I'm just going to say no paragraph style, kind of clear that out a little bit. I just reset it to base just to get rid of all that stuff in there. So I just want to create a new style here. I'm going to use any font that I want just to kind of have something in there. And you can change this later on, so if you don't like what you've kind of created, you can always fix this later on if you don't like the style, because you really don't get a great preview of it right away. So I'm just going to create this a little bit bigger, and what I want to do is make sure that this is centered. And also I'll just underline that as well. And I'll play around with some other settings once we get this kind of set up, and just to kind of offset it even more, I'll just kind of play around with the color a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and hit OK. So now I've created the style, and again, this is the paragraph style that's going to be associated just with this title on the contents. And now I want to add in a couple things to the styles that are in the table of contents themselves. So I've got my chapters, I'm going to add that, and then my subchapter. So you can see that it's going to list them sort of a sub entry of those two. So I've got my chapters in there, I've got my subchapters in there. Next, I want to go over adding a style to the actual chapters and the subchapters that are in the table of contents. So this is again more of this style within a style. So I'm going to go with new paragraph style, and it's going to be applied to what this thing I have selected is. So first thing I want to do is just make sure I've got chapter selected, and you can see this is going to be the chapters. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a new paragraph style again, and same routine. This one I'm going to keep it pretty basic. I'm just going to pretty simple, and then again I can modify this later on, but I'm just going to go with like a very simple font, and then even smaller, and keep it just basic so I don't have to worry about it. I'm kind of overdoing anything. I don't need to underline in there, and color, I'm just going to bring that to simple black, and I think everything else should be okay. One of the things I want to do for this though is go into tabs, and with all the chapters I want sort of kind of list their page number on there. And to do this, again, go into tab section, and I'm going to use this right justified tab, and we can adjust this later on, but I'm just going to click somewhere over here so I can add this. And the leader is kind of the character that's going to be at the end of the words all the way to the number. So something like you would see like a dot that kind of just runs throughout the entire line. So that'll be a little bit more obvious when I kind of complete that. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. And then subchapter, I'm going to adjust that one too. Whoops, I kind of removed that. Bring that back in. So now you see that, and I didn't name that, which was part of the problem. So I'm going to see if I can fix that afterwards. I'm going to go with subchapter and make a new paragraph style. And what I should have done before for that other paragraph style that I created, I'm going to fix that here. I'm going to call this subheading in table of contents. So this is going to be the one that's inside of the table of contents. And I'm not going to base it off the subchapter. I'm just going to go back to no paragraph style. Just reset it. And again, I'm going to go pretty basic here. And I'll leave it at this and make sure that I don't have underline on. Color, bring it back to black. And again, I wanted the tabs here. And I'm going to do something a little different than what I had it before, but I'll just kind of click over here and I will add a different symbol so we can see the difference of those. So now this plus sign will kind of run through the line. Hit OK. And let me just check this. So I've got paragraph style 1 here, subchapters, I've got subheading and table of contents. It's kind of what I want to do. So let me see if I can edit this one real quick. I can actually do that by just going into new paragraph style and changing this to chapters in table of contents. And I can base it actually right off of the one that I created that I didn't name very well, which is this one. And you can see that I've got the tabs in there with the leader. And I'll just change that to dot. And let me see what else I can fix here. That'll do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. So now the chapters have a better name style attached to it, and the subheadings do too as well. So once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I'm going to hit OK again. And what I need to do is create a new page, but I'll create that in the next one so we can sort of see that. But what I just did again is just going into layout, going into table of contents styles, and creating a table of contents style that I'm going to apply to this table of contents that I create. And I made the style for this one, for the subheading, and also for the chapters.